Hi, I'm Matthew Pfeifer, and I'm a real estate agent in Regina, Saskatchewan. I bet you didn't know why the floor is your best friend. It's always there when you fall down. Are you thinking about buying a house right now? You probably got questions. How much is this going to cost you? How much do you have to have in your bank account right now to buy a house in Canada? Well, if you're unsure of those costs, I'm going to break it down in this video for you so you know exactly what it's going to cost to buy a house. Okay, so I'm going to break this down into two major parts that are involved in buying a house. The first part, that's the easiest part, that's the down payment. The second part, that's your closing costs and your inspections and other things like that. That's going to be a little more complicated. In this video, I'm not going to go through any government programs. We're right in the middle of elections. I'm shooting this, and we've got a bunch of different parties promising different programs, so I'm not going to get involved in that. First part, though, we're going to go through, that's the down payment. In Canada, you need at least 5% down to buy a house. If you put less than 20% down, you're required to have an insured mortgage. And I'm going to go through later on in this video what an insured mortgage is and how it applies. But for right now, what you need to know is if you have an insured mortgage, you have a fee attached to that. It's 0.5% to 4% of your total loan value. In this case, I'm going to use two examples to walk through this here in this video. Option number one is going to be in a market like mine in Regina, where the average house price is around $300,000. And that's going to be about a $15,000 down payment. Option number two is going to be in a market like Toronto, which is much more expensive, where the average house price is around $850,000. In that case, you're going to need $42,500 down. Okay, part number two now. This is your closing costs, and this has a lot of different pieces to it. You're going to have things in here like your legal fees, your inspection costs, your land transfer taxes, final adjustments at the lawyer's office, and insurance. And unlike what you're going to see on TV, it's extremely rare in Canada that you're ever going to have a seller pay your closing costs. First up is legal fees. And this is actually pretty standard across the country. I phoned out to a bunch of different agents in all different markets in the country, and it was all around $1,000 to $1,500. That's going to cover the cost for the lawyer's time to process the paperwork, as well as transferring money between both yourself and the banks and the sellers. This doesn't include things like land transfer taxes or any other final adjustments that be collected by the lawyer at that time. Inspections is the next big piece. Now, these are going to depend very much on what you need, and it's going to be very specific to the property. But there's a couple of things that are more standard that you're going to want to do in almost every house. First up is going to be a home inspection. These are going to range from $350 to $700, and it generally depends how comprehensive they are for how expensive they're going to be. But sometimes home inspector is going to say they want a specific professional for a specific job, say like a furnace or a sewer line. Those costs will be additional. Now, many places you need region-specific inspections. Those might be things like sewers, septics, gas lines, and fuel tanks. Those are going to be region-specific, and the agent in your local market is going to be able to explain which of those would apply to you. Land transfer taxes. This is something that comes up in most provinces in Canada, but not all. They're generally about 1.5 to 2% of the home purchase value. But in major centers, sometimes they're more. In Ontario, for example, the City of Toronto doubles those fees. These taxes must be paid out of hand, cannot be something you can add on to a mortgage. Final adjustments is an area that often gets overlooked by buyers, but it's a lot of little things that can really add up to surprise you. Property taxes is one of the biggest ones in here. If the seller has already prepaid their taxes for the year, you're required to reimburse them from possession going forward. So in Regina, we have a $300,000 purchase. Our taxes are about 1% of value. So if you're having to repay somebody, say in the middle of the year, 6 months worth of property taxes, it's about $1,500. Other little things that may be rented in a house that are included as part of the purchase could be furnaces, air conditioners, water heaters, water softeners. Those types of things, you're going to have to repay the seller if they've already prepaid that contract for the balance of the year. Insurance, you have to have it. If you don't have home insurance, the lawyers aren't even going to let you sign those final documents and out of their office. Now, this is going to depend a lot on what you need for coverage, but if you budget $1,000, you're probably going to be pretty safe. You do have to pay that up front though. We've broken it all down. Now let's total it all back up. We're going to have Regina on this side and Toronto on this side. Regina, your average purchase price is $300,000. So that means your down payment is $15,000. Toronto, that average purchase price is $850,000. So we're $42,500 is a minimum down payment. When you subtract that off your purchase price, Regina, you're now sitting at $285,000. Toronto, $807,500. But like we talked about earlier in the video, if you're doing 5% down, you have to pay CMHC fees. When you're putting 5% down, that's a 4% fee that gets added onto your mortgage. So when we put that back in Regina, your mortgage is now $296,400. In Toronto, $839,800. That's what your mortgage will be when you first start making payments on day one. To help reduce that, make this easier in terms of what your monthly payments are, this is where you want to have a qualified mortgage specialist. They're going to make sure you get the best interest rates and the best flexibility in your mortgage so you're not getting hurt on interest and fees. Closing costs. Again, I'm going to have Regina on this side, Toronto on this side. In Regina, we charge about 1% of property value for our legal fees. That does include, though, all your land transfer costs. So you're about $3,000 on the average house in Regina. Your inspections are about $350 for home inspection, and we often do sewer inspections with those, so about $500 total. We have no land transfer taxes to the government. Those are all included in those legal fees we talked about earlier. Final adjustments with property taxes being about $3,000. We're going to be about $1,500 if you're budgeting 6 months. So a safe budget is going to be $20,000 when you add it all up. That's your down payment and all your closing costs combined. And when you're done, your mortgage on your day one is going to be $296,400. In Toronto, legal fees, they're about $1,500 to $2,000. But we're going to split it right down the middle, go $1,750. Home inspections, those are about $500 to $800. But it's very common in Toronto to have a rock star agent helping you buy, and they're going to make sure those are actually included. It's very typical with those multiple offer situations they've been getting there in that hot market. The seller's already done that home inspection. But they have big land transfer taxes. In the city of Toronto, because you have to pay double taxes, that works out to $26,950. And then your final adjustments, their property taxes are actually a little lower than in the city of Regina for proportionate costs of a house, so about $2,500. But when you add those all up, when you include your down payment, $73,700, and your mortgage balance on day one, $839,800. So as you can see, closing costs and purchase price, they vary wildly across this country. If you live in an area that doesn't have land transfer taxes, it's a lot more cost effective, especially up front, to buy a house. I know I only use 2 examples though, in this case, my local market, Regina, and a more expensive market like Toronto. But if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Put them in the comments below. And if I can't answer them for you, I can put you in touch with somebody who can. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe here. If you've got great dad jokes, put them in the comments below. If you want to watch more videos, you can click on them right here.